Hey, what's up, comrades? We're here again to at the next step in our journey, which is Wolverine, the miniseries. So, not to be confused with the Wolverine series that went on, that is still going on, and is going to go on forever and ever as Wolverine's most popular X-Men character. This is a miniseries that took place in, I don't know, at some point. Anyway, it stars Wolverine doing Wolverine stuff. So we start off with Wolverine back in Canada in like the Rocky Mountains, and he's chasing down a bear, and then he has like a fight with the bear, and he kills the bear because the bear got poisoned by someone shooting an arrow at him, and he was gonna drive him. The didn't kill the bear, and it drove him mad, so he had to go take care of it to give him peace. And then he heads down to a bar to fight the guy who shot the bear in the first place, and he gets him arrested for poaching and using poison arrows or whatnot. At that juncture, he tries reaching out to Americo, who's his like long-term girlfriend from Japan, and they hang up on her, and that gets him pissed. So he flies all the way to Japan. He meets up with his friend Asano, who is like a representative from the government. They know each other from back in like the Canadian agency days when they worked together on whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really come up. Not important. Anyway, Wolverine's here to figure out what's going on with Mariko, and Asano tells him that she got married, and that's why she's not responding, because there was some issue with like her father and like something else and this other family and yada yada yada. Wolverine doesn't give no fucks about that. So he heads over there. He finds Mariko. Mariko tells him he needs to leave because she's married to this other man, and she's got to do the honorable thing and whatnot. And then he sees that she's been beat up by the husband, and he's like, oh fuck no, that guy's dead. And then she tells like some story about like the sword, this like family ancestral sword created by like Masamune, the great sword maker of Japan. At that point, the asshole husband comes in, and Wolverine almost kills him, but then Mariko tells him not to. And then Wolverine storms off, and then he gets hit with some poison darts or whatever. He wakes up, and he is sitting there with Shinjin, who is Mariko's father, and they go back and forth, and then essentially Wolverine challenges him to a fight, and so Shinjin beats the shit out of Wolverine, even though they're using wooden swords. It doesn't matter. Shinjin's like an excellent fighter, like a super samurai ninja guy or whatnot, and so he gets the shit kicked out of him, and he wakes up, and he's like on the street, and then these dudes like accost him, so he kills them, and then this like crazy lady Yuriko shows up, and she's like, hello lover, and he's like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Anyway, that leads us into issue number 2, which begins with Wolverine being slapped awoken because he was asleep, and there's the Hand Ninja Clan, and so we get some cool shots of him beating the shit out of them, like on rooftops of Japan, running around, and this Yuriko chick is around, so they fight, kills a whole bunch of people, and finally they have like a little chit chat about everything that's going on back in his room, and she's talking about how she needs to be with him and all this stuff, and he's like, I can't be with you, I'm with Mariko, and she tries to like seduce him, but he's like, nah bitch, I'm good. We then get somebody heading over to like the Shinjin towers or whatever, and it ends up being Yuriko, because guess what? She works for Shinjin. She's like his number one assassin, and she gives him shit for like sending the Hand that did like some real damage to him and whatnot, or real damage to her. And he's like, how dare you disrespect me, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, there's a plan where she's gonna go assassinate the husband of Mariko and his father somewhere. At some meeting that Yuriko's going to, or maybe it's not her husband, but she's going to some meeting, and she's supposed to kill like the husband and this other guy. And then, meanwhile, Wolverine has a plan. He's gonna go figure out. He's gonna go to like the same place for like reasons. And so he gets there. He kills some guards, climbs up into it. He sees Mariko with like her husband, and they're all chit chatting with about the business and whatnot, and they're watching like some play, but then Wolverine recognizes that one of the warriors from the play is actually a real life warrior, and he goes to like kill Mariko because it was a trap. Oh no. And so then Wolverine goes up and he kills all the actors who are actually like ninja or whatever, and then the guy that needs to be killed, who's not the husband, he slaps the shit out of the husband and then runs off with his wife, and then they get blown up in a car bomb, and Yuriko is like, gotcha. Wolverine finishes killing everybody, and he's like, aha, got him. And then he sees Mariko, and she has this like stunned look on her face, like she's like shocked at his like veracity and his ferociousness. And then she runs off, and Wolverine's like, I'm so sad. And then Yuriko's like very pleased with herself in the corner of the room. That leads us to number 3. So Wolverine and Yuriko have been going around Japan getting into fights and drinking and whatnot, and he's just having a grand old time in like these red light districts. And Asano comes up and like tries to talk him out of doing what he's doing, and says he needs to like be smarter and not let himself be like whatever, but he's like at a loss because of the Mariko thing. And then we find out the hand's kind of stalking them, and then they almost get hit by like a bullet train, but then he saves them, and then he passes out from being like drunk and stuff. And he has this crazy dream about like samurai and going and being shot with a bunch of arrows, and one of the arrows is Mariko's arrow. Meanwhile, Yuriko has approached her again, and so she fights them off, and then fights some more, and then tries to wake Wolverine up, and then she runs off, and she goes to his place, and she's like, all right, cool, I've always wanted to die like a glorious warrior's death, and this is going to be how I'm going to do it. And she's for some reason back in like Wolverine's like hotel room, which is fucking nice, and somebody's like coming on in, and she thinks it's the Hand, so she kills him, but it ends up being Asano, Wolverine's friend. So Wolverine shows up, and he's pissed and super sad, and he takes the knife out of Asano's neck and sniffs it, and he's like, Yuriko, if you're going to kill me, you better do it now. And she just like bursts out the window and leaves, and so Wolverine chases after her. So they have like a rooftop chase through Tokyo, and he throws like the knife back at her, hits her in the back. They end up in this like Buddha garden, and he's about to kill her, and then he like has a change of heart because, you know, reasons, vaginas and stuff. Anyway, the Hand attack again. They shoot him with some arrows and try to pull him in, and he just beats the shit out of them, and some also awesome like paneling of fighting. He just kills. And then when he's done, Yuriko's gone, and so he just sits on the rock, and he's like in turmoil about everything that's going on with Mariko and Yuriko and everything. And so he's like, he has some like real hard, heavy thoughts about it to himself, and he needs to get at peace. So he like works on like the sand garden in this little area, and then he feels better. And then he's like, I'm going to kill that Shinjin. He thinks I'm a beast, but I'm actually a man. So good. So then we go to the final issue number 4. And Wolverine goes around and he taunts Shinjin by destroying all... He's like the head of the underground at this point. Like he's defeated all his like enemies, and he like rules with like an iron fist. So he goes around and just fucks up all the operations. And then Shinjin's getting like a lot of conversation about how like his people aren't going to trust him because he's not keeping them safe, and all this stuff. And then he goes, okay, I sent my master, I sent like my finest ninjas to go kill him. And then this guy walks up with the box, and of course it has like the ninja stuff in it from his finest ninja, and it just says tonight. And Shinjin's like, fuck, get my shit together. And then we go over to Wolverine, and he's getting like all this weaponry and stuff prepared. He's like, this is me, awesome. We then do like a little interlude over with Mariko. She's like praying to her ancestors, like very Shintoist she, and praying for understanding of what she should do, and all this stuff. And like her father's like disgraced the family by doing all this like corrupt evil stuff, and it's all pretty good stuff. Then we go over to Yuriko. She's like killing ninjas, breaking into like the Shinjin place, and eventually she gets caught with a net. And at that point, Mariko walks in to see her dad is like gonna kill her. And they're gonna fight, and Mariko like stops it, and right before Shinjin's about to slap the shit out of Mariko, he gets a call, and it's like, where is everybody? Where are the ninja? And it's like we just see a bunch of shots of like the Hand just like completely decimated by Wolverine. And so Shinjin's like, get her out of here. And so this guy grabs Mariko to take him out, and then he's like, I'm gonna shoot her if you do anything. And Wolverine's like, do it. And so the guy shoots Wolverine, and then Wolverine kills the shit out of him. Oh, it's so good. At that point, then Yuriko kills the shit out of him, and then Yuriko grabs like part of Mariko's like traditional Japanese outfit and gives it to Wolverine, and then gives him a kiss, and then she takes off, not to be seen again until I can't remember if she comes up again in his future series, not miniseries, or he comes up in like an Uncanny X-Men arc first. But anyway, so Wolverine tracks down Shinjin. He's using like the old Muramase sword that Mariko was talking about in the first issue of this mini arc. And they have a little chit chat before the battle begins. And we get some cool fight. And they're like cutting each other up and slicing and doing like ninja stuff and fight. And they fight some more and breaks the sword, which is confusing because... No, he didn't break the sword. He like cuts up his uniform, and then Wolverine gets stabbed in the chest, and Wolverine grabs the sword and like stabs him right in the neck and kills him. And then he's standing him over the dead Shinjin when Mariko comes in, and he's like having these thoughts about how like, you know, she's got to get revenge because he killed her father and all this stuff. And he's like, do what you got to do, Mariko, I won't stop you. And she's like, I'm going to do nothing. In fact, I'm going to like make you a samurai for my household because... And then she goes on this whole like rant about how her father just disgraced their name, disgraced their ancestors, and that her plan was that if he beat Wolverine, she was going to kill him instead with the sword. And instead she's going to turn the sword over to him, and then they like kiss in the darkness, and it's super sweet. And then we get like kind of like epilogue, and it just talks about how things got better, and then Wolverine considers like all the stuff about being how Shinjin like lost honor and how honor means so much to Mariko and how she's so special. And then we head over to like the X Mansion, and we see like all the X-Men, like we see Nightcrawler, Kitty, Cyclops, Colossus, and Storm, and they're looking at a card, and the card's it's an RSVP for the marriage of Wolverine to Mariko, as presented by the Emperor of or his Imperial Majesty Hirohito. And then there's like a beautiful calligraphy note with like a beautiful like pre-wedding picture, like engagement photo, and then at the bottom it says, "Hey Elf, don't forget the beer," which is the most important part. And that's the end of the Wolverine mini-series. But we're not going to finish yet, because while we're here, we're going to talk about a what if, number 31, which is what if Wolverine killed the Hulk, right? And so this is kind of a silly story, as they tend to be. So we just go all the way back to when Wolverine first fought the Hulk, and this time he kills him, and then people are sad, and there's all this stuff about it, and then the League of Extraordinary or Evil Mutants, led by Magneto at this time, they find out about it. And so they want Wolverine to come with them because he's obviously an evil mutant or whatever. And then Wolverine ends up getting into a bar fight afterwards, and he's trying to celebrate his victory over the Hulk, and he ends up killing a guy by accident. He's like, fuck. And so he runs off, and then he busts into like Alpha Flight, and he tries to get what's his name? James McDonald or James Hudson to help him, and he's not going to help him because he committed murder or whatever. And so he's running away, and then Magneto and his evil mutants like pick him up, and they have a little conversation. He's like, "You must join us and do evil things because you don't have a choice." Wolverine's like, "I guess I don't have a choice." So then what they do is they get Wolverine to go pretend to join the X-Men, and this is the X-Men like pre Krakoa. So it's Marvel Girl, Cyclops, Iceman, Beast, and Angel. And so he goes and shakes hands, and they're like doing stuff, and they're going like adventures. They kill Sentinels and whatnot. And Wolverine's got a thing for Jean, and so, as he usually does. And so when Magneto comes to like talk to him about betrayal of the X-Men, he's like, "I got a new deal for you." And it's like, "You're gonna leave Jean Grey alone." And Magneto's like, "You'll make new deals. I make new deals." And then there's like a little back and forth with Wolverine and Cyclops over Jean Grey for like very short amount of time. And then Wolverine at some point disables the detecting device for the mansion for Cerebro, so that Magneto and his like crew, which is like the Blob, Eunice, the Vanisher, Mastermind. Well, I don't know if Vanisher's not here, but Lorelei is. Lorelai's that lady from, which I don't know why she's here. That doesn't make any sense in the time frame. Anyway, she's the lady from the Savage Land who like sings Sweet Nothings and puts people in her thing. So she sings some Sweet Nothings, and then Jean Grey runs to like do something, and Magneto's about to kill her, and the Wolverine jumps in the way and takes the shot, and then that allows like the rest of the mutants to like be able to right themselves from Lorelai's attack, and then they start fighting. Like Angel beats up Mastermind, Wolverine beats the shit out of the Blob somehow, picks him up off the ground, Eunice gets dumped in the ground and buried, and then Lorelei gets caught up by Jean Grey, and so all that leaves is Magneto, and so they're fighting, and everyone's defeated. But then Wolverine goes up and like kicks the shit out of Magneto and almost kills him, but doesn't quite kill him. Cyclops stops him at the last minute, and then Wolverine, because Cyclops stops him, Magneto is able to like with the very last of his powers have Wolverine kill himself, and it's like, well, Magneto's dead and he's dead. Sad times. And then Wolverine like confesses his love to Jean Grey, and then he dies. And that's what happened if the Hulk had been killed by Wolverine. Good stuff. All right, so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later.